Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, sing it unto me, the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we're off adventuring into the space between. Being broadcast live on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. And also in YouTube world. Hello, YouTube. And, no matter how you are listening to me, do make sure you hit that like, the thumbs up, the subscribe button, and the bell, and you'll be alerted when we have a new show. And every so often I am dropping more of those 3-cent videos, so if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss out. Just saying. And if you want to support the show, please do so by going to www.patreon.com/thespacesbetween. And the call line is open tonight, so if you want to share your thoughts or opinions, please do give us a call. It is 213-233-3998, or if you're across the pond in the UK, it is 44203-393-2871. And tonight, looks like chat rooms are starting to be active already. So in YouTube world, I see Black Tree. Hi, Julia. Thank you for joining. Cameron, I am Pam. Aether Archives, that would be Dawn. And Elaine. Hi, Elaine. And then in TFR world, looks like Caches of Exuberance and Brent. Hey, hey, Brent. How y'all? And so tonight I am joined by Bella Luna. Bella's been on the show before, and she and I have talked a bit about just different things. Wrong button. Don't mind me. Trying to unmute. There it is. and about various different topics and such. And tonight, I got to thinking. Come on. There you are. And so tonight, the title of the show is Release the Hounds, but not really. It's actually Release the Dogma. Because seriously, there's something that I've noticed a fair bit in just people talking about paganism online or witchcraft online. It doesn't really matter what platform it is. Huh, Bella? Everybody seems to bring dogma from other religions into paganism, and it doesn't really apply, right?
Or they have some preconceived notions on what they think the dogma is for paganism.
Yes.
Kind of looking at paganism as one religion.
Yeah.
Or one approach.
Right. I mean, there are so many different deities. And it seems like everybody assumes that you have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all these different steps right in a row exactly just way for your rituals to work, your spells to work, just to do it the right way. I don't know, what do you think?
I think it goes back to what we were talking about before, which is that that because Wicca is really the more quote unquote mainstream of when people think of paganism, alternative beliefs, that and because that's so rampant on the internet, and because that information is so readily available, that I think people, especially when they're getting into the pathway, whether it be the craft or paganism, that they feel like they have to, that's what they have to follow, and that represents all of paganism.
Yes. Well, and it's really hard to know what's real and what's not, because I know just from doing my own research, if I didn't ever pick up a book, I would assume that, pagans are all just like Wicca, and or they follow World of Warcraft or Skyrim or Harry Potter. or some weird combination thereof.
Right. And it's not until you start really delving and doing your research and doing your study do you start seeing the plethora of choices and options, including your own path and being your own self.
Right. And there is a really big assumption out there that in order to be a pagan or in order to be a witch, you have to have a deity. You have to have a patroness or a patron, or you're praying to one specific deity, period. But that's not true.
Right. That is probably one of the most common misconceptions, especially when it comes to, let's just take witchcraft in and of itself, because witchcraft is not a religion, right? It's just a practice. It's a magical practice. But because, and this is my personal opinion, I could be wrong, but because when people look up witchcraft, one of the first things that comes up, whether they're in a search or if they go to the library or a bookstore, it's Wicca that comes up, right? And so Wicca is a religion, and Wicca has, it's a deity-based religion. And, well, obviously all religions are deity-based. That was kind of didn't have to say that part. But, and so they automatically assume that I must have a deity to practice witchcraft. So I think that's the first most common misconception that I see. And so I see people stress, really stress over it. On one of the amino platforms or amino communities that I'm in that has a lot of newbies in it, they really are stressing. They're like, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid I'm going to, piss one of them off, and I don't know who to choose. So that brings up like so many different things, which is one, do you understand that you don't have to have a deity? And number two, and if you are going to work with a deity, you're not really choosing. They choose you. And I understand that that's a debatable subject, but most people believe that they choose you. And you can argue that even if you say, oh, no, I chose this deity, you can argue and say, well, you probably chose that deity because that deity was calling to you and you were drawn to looking into that deity.
Right.
But the point being, you don't need to work with a deity. You don't need to honor.
Correct. And I'm going to just interrupt because, I love technology. Sorry, my hands are cold, so I have a candle.
I love that.
Yeah. I don't know if we had a software update so everything freezes periodically. Wine. Yeah, you know what? I like it. I would rather have wine, but this is warming up my fingers. So, I've noticed that, I work with different deities. Maybe it's the charm of me being a 100% eclectic. There are different deities to work with for different situations. I mean, whether it's the dark of the moon, the full moon, full daylight, sunrise, sunset, noon, etc., or, what am I trying to accomplish with the ritual? It's not just, right. I'm always going to call to Hecate. It's, what if I got something else to go on, or that I need to do, or because, yep, she's pretty doggone awesome, but there are other deities out there I could use, or sometimes you just need to reach out to your spirit guides, right?
Right. Exactly. And actually, you bring up a really good point, because that's you would talk about dogma. Obviously, with Christianity being probably the most, popular religions out there, many people who come new to this path are usually coming from some sort of Christian-based religion. And so they carry that dogma, whether they even realize it or not. And they carry some of those preconceived notions, even though they can consciously verbalize that they know that they're going into about to follow a polytheistic path. They still feel like they have to find a god or a goddess, and devote their entire time to that person, still bringing that monotheistic mentality with them. And I think a lot of people don't realize it.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right, 100% right, that people don't realize that there are more than one deity that you can work with, and a true polytheistic means you acknowledge that there are more than one deity out there. All right.
I see a lot of people saying, well, will they get offended, or, won't I make them mad? And, exactly. That's a loaded question. Sure, there are some deities out there that do have been known to have a jealousy factor, but at the same time,
I said Yahweh is one of those that's very jealous. I mean, in the church dogma or church religious doctrine, he says that I am a jealous God, have no other gods before me. And I mean, that's really implies, even in Christianity, there's an acknowledgement of more than one deity, but really, truly, he's straight up says, I'm a jealous God. That means he only wants you to work with him.
Right.
Not most of them aren't really like that unless they've called to you specifically. Right?
But it goes back to also what you were saying, which is, it also depends on how you are working with the gods. How are you working with the goddesses, right? Are you going to gather them all in the circle to do all the same thing? Or, like you said, on the full moon, you're going to work with, this goddess, and another aspect for another purpose. Like for me, as an example. So, I can say that I am the daughter of the I have a daughter. I can't talk. I am a daughter of the Morrigan. Okay, she is my matron goddess, but she is not the only deity I work with. Mm-hmm. Do I go to her a lot for a number of my workings? Of course I do. However, if I'm doing some sort of spell work, for instance, that requires justice, some sort of retribution, I'm going to Nemesis. And I'm asking Nemesis to come in and help. And so, and do I feel that that is going against the Morrigan or insulting her? No, I don't.
I agree 100%. Because I don't, in a way, I think the deities are not as connected to us as they were years ago. I mean, we were, I think, a lot closer to the deities in yesteryear or millennia past. And so they're not quite as in touch with us. They're not as readily available or as readily accessible. And that's part of the reason I think why ritual is really important, to find that connection. But I think in a way, they are pretty hands-off on purpose. That way we can work with other deities for different things. I mean, it'd be like painting every picture with the color green all the time. It just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't look right. And it wouldn't feel right to me to work with just one deity all the time, I guess. That's part of what...
Now, having said all...
Go ahead. Oh, you froze up again. So, I mean, that's part of what drew me to paganism, is being able to acknowledge that there were more than one deity out there and more than one access to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. And most of them don't require the blind obedience that Christianity and other Abrahamic faiths require. It feels more like they want people who are knowledgeable, who want to do the research, who want to do the study, who want to be active participants in life, not just, those that sit back on the couch and just hang out and go to church on Sundays.
Well, now, having said all of that, I'm going to throw in, a twist. So if there are newer people, it's probably going to piss them off because I'm going to throw in a twist. But one of the beauties of paganism is that it is so personal. It is so incredibly personal. And part of that being personal is we all have different interpretations and understandings of what deity even is. So, the kind of things that you're describing, for instance, is, and many people have these beliefs, which is, the deities in and of themselves are separate individual beings, different origin stories, different abilities, different concepts. But there are many all-encompassing divine that is just different aspects. And so, so it's much harder to have a concept that you are insulting one or the other if you're seeing them as one of a part of a bigger whole. So again, it depends on how you personally view them. Now, me, just as an example, I'm of the latter. I tend to view the deities as one of the many facets of a larger, all-encompassing divine. And there are different archetypes of the divine, but that I am still, I guess you can say, if you wanted to compare it to Christianity's term, I'm still working with God. But it's become more personal because I'm working with the various aspects of them. And that's part of the reason why I don't worry about insulting a deity. If, however, you view deities as separate entities in and of themselves, then yeah, your approach may be a little bit different to that. That's okay, but that's again the beauty of this. You personalize it.
Right. And I don't really feel that with Christianity, that ability to personalize your relationship really wasn't there. At least it wasn't for me, because they expected me to go to church, do
Right.
this, do that, and follow the dogma of that particular tradition. And it wasn't me. It wasn't how I believed. It wasn't how I felt. It wasn't my connection. I mean, why should I have to go to a church and that's my sole point of contact to connect with the deity? I
Mhm.
can pretty much, sit down and talk to Knunos or Hecate or any of them at any time, or my guides, my spirit guides. Yeah, they're around all the time.
Right.
I don't need to just go through a ritual and say, all right, hey, this is, I'm going to dot my I's, cross my T's, say this chant, that chant, spin around 3 times, and there we go. I mean, it's sometimes formalized is good because some things do need formalization and some things do need exact
Mhm.
ritual, but that's for a specific ritual or working or spell, not, the day to day, everyday stuff.
But actually, even then, that's debatable as well.
Right? um,
Because what works for you, and what kind of magical practitioner are you?
mhm.
If you're a ceremonial magician, yeah, there's a lot more. Do this, do that, invoke this, invoke that. If you're a chaos magician, nothing's on the table. Everything's on the table. It's all, So again, that's what makes this so beautiful. It's funny because and I was having a conversation with my brother, and as I was explaining to him, I told him, the ultimate irony of all of this, moving away from Christianity, and going away from, in speaking in Christian terms, going away from God. I'm actually closer to God more than ever now, because I personally feel that Christianity, that we're all actually talking about the same thing. Christianity, though, has defined it and really isolated it, made it masculine, and made it, very rules oriented, and you can, like you said, a very jealous God. But I personally believe that they are worshiping the divine just like we are. But unfortunately, because of the way it's designed, they're worshiping it from the back row, and we're front row center.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I don't, even before becoming more involved in that group and when I was more solitary, I guess it is really freeing to me to know that I can make that connection on my own. I don't have to go through someone else or feel like I have to go through someone else to connect with the divine or the deity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I could just speak it or do it, and that connection was right there. It wasn't, again, following this exact roadmap to, get what I needed to do, and it could only happen on certain days. It was, granted, we do have some of that, but it wasn't as absolute. This isn't, or I guess being a
Sure.
pagan just doesn't feel as absolute or as structured or restricted as I felt as when I was trying so very hard to be a Christian. I mean, at one point I taught Sunday school, so um,
Yeah.
it, because I was trying really, really hard to follow that path and embrace it and do what I needed to do, and even in it was just like wearing shoes that were too small all the time. It just didn't
That's
fit.
a great analogy. Yeah.
And you can't walk very
Well,
far.
I think that What's that?
I said you can't walk very far if your shoes are too small. Your feet start to hurt after a while.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think, I think the reason why there's so many people that claim that they are eclectic is because even the various traditions, although I'm not dogging them whatsoever, it's in many ways too reminiscent of organized religion, and many of us are still reeling PTSD from that, and some of us will never get past that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever will. We were just talking the other day. I have been. I call myself eclectic. Always have been hesitant to call myself a chaos witch, but as I continue to do more introspection, I am a freaking chaos witch.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to own up. And why can't I own up? Because I'm still stuck on the remnants of Dogma.
Yes.
And when you look at chaos magic, if anybody knows anything about chaos magic, they have, and you laughed at me when we talked about this before, they have these 6 principles of chaos magic, right? But the principles are really guidelines. And they even say, when I say they, in the publications and stuff, the literature even says, these are guidelines. It's like, these are just, things to help you as you go on your path, being a chaos magician. But, like everything in chaos magic, you don't have to follow it.
Exactly.
So
all right. So I haven't been paying very close attention. I'm going to interrupt you just real quick. We have a caller. You want to talk to someone for just so caller?
Yeah.
Oh no, she hung up. Whoever that was, I'm sorry. They're on hold for like 8 minutes. Okay, guys. So just real quick, if you're on hold, I'm not ignoring you willfully. I'm just kind of.
Bella just talks too much.
Well, so do I. So call back. So we're actually going to go to break here in about a minute. So whoever that was, it was a Michigan number. Call back in like 2 minutes. I promise I'll let you back on. But yeah, I think you're right. That introspection when we're working through it, we're still working through that dogma. I think that's part of the reason why shadow work is important. Trying to rid ourselves of that baggage that we brought over. So I'm going to pause you right there.
When we come back.
Yes.
Wait, when we come back, let's talk about pagan holidays.
Yes. I do agree with that. All right. So everybody, yes. Phone lines are open. I promise I'm not ignoring you if I don't answer right away. Say something. That number is 213-233-3998. Or if you don't want to call and talk on the phone, the email is wildpaisley@gmail.com. We'll be right back.
Lord within the sun. Brothers of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we're off adventuring into the spaces between. We are live with Bella, and we're kind of talking about Dogma and stuff that happens with Dogma in general, not just the carryover from Christian dogma when we become pagans or we move away from that tradition and do something different, but also some of the other bits that happen to show up when we're doing our own practice. So we were getting ready to talk about some of the pagan holidays, right? Yes? Are you still there? Bella? 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 I am talking, right? Yeah? Anyway, so, yeah, often we do get hung up on just kind of what we grew up with as far as dogma goes and some of the behaviors that we were taught as kids. And so to not have that around suddenly, wrong button, I did it again. And, when we stop having those same influences, we often carry that dogma with us and those influences with us. And I know I unmuted you, dear. Can you hear me now? Nope, wrong button. Oh, yes, technology is my friend. I know how to use it. Bella, can you hear me? No? Yes? No? Yes? And yeah, it's a button, it's a button. I'm unmuted. Can you hear me? All right, hold on. Hold that thought. So, okay, she can't hear me, but hold on. Hold on. What'd I do? Let me push another button. Anyways. So, I don't know what happened here. Here I am running a show and doing all this stuff, and you'd think I would know what I'm doing by now, right? It's a lie. It's a lie, I say. But, I've only been doing it for a little bit, right? Oh, come on, phone. Let me call back in there. 4, 3. And, so
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
where is my keyboard?
You have not entered any
Yes, I
numbers.
know.
Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
So, anyways, we're talking about dogma and stuff.
You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Oh, Anyways, and I see in chat.
Goodbye.
Lovely. Are probably giving me dirty looks. Anyways, so hold on. I don't want to lose her because that'd be too sad. Yes. I don't know where Don is. Generally he was, but he's not. I don't know. Button. Who's got the button? So, yep. Anyways, I am here. Dogma. And we as we grow up we're taught different things, whether it's regarding religion or faith or traditions or holidays or anything anything like that we consider tradition within our family is often considered dogma. You only use this pan to scramble eggs in, for instance. That could conceivably be dogma, because if you go against it, it's suddenly you're bucking the system. And or still trying to get this to fix. Sure. Sorry, guys. And when we become pagans or move into the pagan tradition, we often feel suddenly that we have to keep following the same paths and traditions that we were doing before, even though we are no longer just no longer part of that tradition or that faith, that religion. And so to suddenly not have that is very bizarre. It's very odd. And so often we try to keep, oops, wrong button. We keep that same attitude, if you will, and we try to apply it or to push it onto our current tradition or our new path. And I'm going to do this one more time because, by golly, I want it to work. Because I'm floundering here trying to talk to myself.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
And
you have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
I did, doggone it. It's going to hang up on me.
You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Weird. I don't know. Technology is just not my friend. Bella, I'm not sure what's going on, if you can hear me. So, yes, Don needs to come in and save the day. If anybody knows where he is, tell him to get over here. But, so when we are then trying to be pagans and move into the pagan world, all right, you know what? I have a caller. I'm just going to take the caller and stop mumbling. One moment. Michigan, you're on the air.
Switch back to your 2 screen.
Hello? Caller? Hello?
Switch back to your 2 screen.
Caller, are you there? Hello? Hello? Caller? All right, I'm not hearing you. So, so everybody, Don came in to save the day. Just one moment. There's this. Caller, are you there? All right, I see Bella. Hello? I see Bella, but I don't hear Bella. Hello? Oh. Bella, can you say something real quick? Maybe? Yes? Maybe? Am I muted?
Maybe not, because I don't know what you're doing.
No, we didn't touch anything there. Is the software. Bella keeps getting muted. Why does Bella keep getting muted? I don't know. You're muted, honey.
Danny, I don't see it. You're going to have to. I don't know. You're muted, honey. You're going to have to.
There. Hey, can you hear me now? Speak.
There.
Unmute. There. Hey. I think I figured it out. No.
There. Hey, can you hear me now? Okay,
I don't know. It keeps locking me up. So,
You're going to have to leave.
I know. I'm just frustrated. I'm sorry, guys. So I'm glad. Yep. Don said to go to the split screen. I did that. Meanwhile, check out the story at Etsy.com/Monarch Mountain Studio, and weird. Again, Dogma. So we're probably going to talk about Dogma again tomorrow night. Maybe we're going to use a different platform. And we're going to try this color bit again. I see you there. I see you there. Color, are you there? On Michigan? Hello, area code 616. So I have a... Alright. Hey, Bella. I'm going to have to call you back because I'm not sure what's going on here. Hold on and let me hang up and call back in. And I can tell there's a caller there and I can tell you're talking, but again, my technology is just not working according to what it is supposed to be doing. And so when, and we'll come back, we'll hit this again tomorrow night, I think, because I think talking about Dogma is super important, and that's why we were talking about it, to be honest. Because so many people assume that they're the same paths and habits that they had as, you know, a Christian or Muslim or following Judaism or any of those, often assume that those same habits and practices need to carry over into the next part of their life, into paganism. And that's really not the way it works, honestly, because in reality, it's an entirely different path. It's an entirely different set of rules. And so if it doesn't fit anymore, if it doesn't work anymore, it becomes dogma. You're being held back by that thought pattern or that set of behaviors, and that's not. It's just not fun. And it becomes work, and it's unfortunate because um, it your faith and what you're doing should not be work um, at all. It should come easily, and it should be organic, and it should be just something that you do, that you flow into, kind of like, as simple as taking a drink of water or anything like that, putting on your socks, and it should be comfortable to you. It shouldn't feel like you are working that hard and you're bucking the system that much. And it's really unfortunate and frustrating then when I see people who are doing those things and are acting like that. And judging others who don't have those behaviors, or don't have that same attitude and same melodrama, if you will. I just don't. I don't know how else to put it. When when we are moving and we're doing things, that dogma just, it holds us back. It weighs us down. And hold on just a second. We're going to try this real quick. All right. Hey, Bella, real quick. Can you hear me? Nope. All right. Um, um, the dogma of it all, I guess, is just frustrating because often we have this assumption that if we don't do things a certain way, we don't go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, then we're doing it wrong, and people often get worried and are upset then about whether or not the deities are accepting of them, or are angry with them, or are upset with them. In reality, that's not what's going on. That's not real. And ooh,
Yeah. I apologize if I hurt anybody's feelings.
hey, how's it
I
going?
just wanted to say hi.
Hey, no worries. Hey, caller, I can hear you. Are you still there? Hello? Hi? Bella, can you hear me now? So this has been just kind of a bust this evening. I'm so sorry. And it's one for the record books because occasionally I just flub just like everybody else, and it's all good. And we're just about done anyways, guys. And we, and in a way, I got to tell you, this is really an example of why you cannot be too solid with your practice, or too regimented by your practice. Because when things happen, you have to be able to roll with it. And so what happened, I guess, was I was disconnected. And I'm glad you were there, caller. Yeah. And, it's It is frustrating though, because when you have set expectations of the way you want a ritual to go, for instance, or the way you want a plan to go, and or a ceremony to go, or a meeting to go, and it doesn't happen, you can get frustrated and upset about it, or you can kind of roll with it. So tonight we kind of rolled with it, and it still was all flubbed up, and I'm not sure why I was disconnected. So, anyways, yeah, it's been fun. I'm glad you guys are pretty understanding. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Maybe I got paranormal portal-itis and got haunted or something. And so, yeah, it has been fun. Thank you, Bomber. And you know what? I'm fine with YouTube hanging out for just a little bit afterwards if y'all want to. We'll see. I'll have to put y'all on hold for just a few minutes and come back. Yeah, no matter how you set things up, you may write out what you feel is the best ritual. You may have the best music. You may have all the right tools. You may feel like you've got all the right bits and pieces, and you may have done your meditation prior to doing your ritual or ceremony, and then when it comes to it, you feel like you did everything right, and you didn't get the results that you were looking for. And it's frustrating, 100%. Without a doubt. It is just bloomin' frustrating. Because and you become disappointed in yourself, and often it creates a fear of a failure for your next event that you try to do. And no matter what you are doing, you need to be able to roll with it just a little bit, and understand that even though you do all the steps right, you may not still have the results that you anticipated. And it kind of goes back to the unintended consequences that I talked about a while back. Because in reality, no matter how set up you are and how prepared you think you are for an event, something can still go wrong. The intention could be not quite there, or there may be an outside influence or interference that is preventing that result that you anticipated or that you expected. Or somebody out there is looking at the bigger picture, and this thing that you're trying to achieve isn't what you really need in the long term, in the long run. Really, truly. Because, Garth Brooks had the song "Thank God for Unanswered Prayers," and when I stop and think about the lyrics to that particular song and some of the things that happened in my past, and by golly, am I so excited that some of those things, those ceremonies, those rituals, or those intentions that I set at one point in the past didn't work out the way I intended. I'm really, really thankful for that, because if they had, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be the person I am today. And it's really important to understand that things do happen for a reason, and in the time frame that they're supposed to happen in. So you can't force something. Just like we see, love spells or requests for love spells or love charms or whatever in social media groups all the time. And in reality, you're trying to force something that needs to happen in its own time. You can't force it. You just can't force it. So, on that note, you can't force it. Release the dogma and all that jazz. It's wildpaisley@gmail.com. WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. And thank you all for joining tonight on TFR World. And Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll be back tomorrow night. Belle's coming back tomorrow night, by the way. We're gonna kind of wrap up the Dogma bit again, and then there's some other things that we kind of want to touch on, because there's some aspects of being a pagan and a witch that are coming up and actually causing a lot of negativity and harm as they come out on social media and such. And it's just not okay. It really, really isn't. So thank you guys for your patience tonight and for joining me here on the Spaces Between. And we'll see you tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Right here on TFR Live. And merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. And thank you guys. I hope you have a very good evening on TFR.